Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be reviewing the final edition Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, or I will call it the Encore Edition because this is the second year of the final edition. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Large Miller Jeep here in Provo for giving me some time with this Wrangler. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. I'll also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a 6.4 liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 13 around town, 16 on the highway, with power outputs being 470 horsepower and then 470 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood here, you guys can see bright green. It's called Mojito. We still have the 392 badges, which is really cool. I love the custom decal there in the center as well. And then this is, of course, going to come with the upgraded turn signal indicators, the upgraded headlights. You've got the new style of grille as well. Steel bumpers as standard. You got the fog lights, and then we have the factory integrated winch. And that ties everything in together for the front end. Now this is going to come standard with 35-inch tall tires wrapped around 17-inch wheels. You can see you've got the bronze there in the center. I like the beadlock ring. It looks really cool. Now you've got the special shocks here for the 392 version. Still have a solid front axle, of course. And then those nice body painted fender flares there with the little fender flare extension. See, it says 392 Final Edition there on the side. Jeep Wrangler down below, and then we've got rock rail protection here at the bottom from the factory, and everything's gonna be painted to match with the top and all of that. But yeah, the green and the bronze contrast looks really sharp. Now this leads us to the key fob where we've got our lock and unlock function. We've got the remote start with the Jeep logo there on the back as well. I'm gonna pop it open. So normal swing gate, and it's actually pretty light even though it has a 35. And then it says again 392 Final Edition, Encore Edition is what it should say. But yeah, plenty of space here in the back, and then notice the cage is all painted to match as well, which looks great. Really cool taillight design here, and then you can see the bronze recovery point. And then the newer Rubicons actually have a new axle setup, which is supposed to make it drive a little bit better. And of course, you got the crazy exhaust tips. Give you guys an exhaust note a little bit later. Giant spare here on the back, of course, full-size spare. Man, I love this green. This leads us inside. So it's basically a normal Rubicon interior for the most part, but it does have the bronze stitching. You can see that you've got the black seats with the bronze stitching there on the side. It's really cool with the floor mats there. And then we've got vents here in the rear. We have our little window controls down below, charging ports and all of that, a full outlet. And of course, good headroom because it's a box. And then popping up front, again, you've got all the soft touch here down below, as well as the stitching. Got your mirror adjustments. Blind spot with the mirrors. Payload on this, if you're wondering, 850. And then a Rubicon 392 there on the seat. Newer material here for the seats. It's kind of interesting. Seat is power adjustable. Got all your light controls there. And start her up. I do have the exhaust valves closed right now, by the way. Jeep logo front and center on the steering wheel. We've got paddle shifters there on the back for the 8-speed auto. Controls for the center stack here. We've got our adaptive cruise control as well, and then really nice stitching and perforated trim on the steering wheel. So when you put it all together, the steering wheel looks pretty cool. Now we've got this gauge cluster that is partially analog, partially digital, and you notice it lets you know what's happening with the driveline there off to the side. And then the center screen, you can display what information you want. It's very customizable, very user-friendly overall. Just like other loaded up Rubicons, you have the rear camera and the front camera, no 360 camera still. And yeah, this has the new infotainment system, which takes a second for some of the stuff to load up. I mean, you can see it's still kind of going, but overall, I mean, it's not the worst thing on the planet. And then this is going to have the off-road pages as well. Got nice trim across the dash with the stitching, and then more nice stitching up top as well. And look at that viewpoint, that's so cool. We've got analog controls here for the climate down below, your heated seats, your heated steering wheel. You've got your little off-road cruise control. That's to open up the valves for the exhaust. Stability control. You've got a little charging port area here too. All of your window controls. 4 auxiliary switches. Your off-road plus, which if you're gonna go off-road, definitely put it in that so it'll modify the traction system and everything to work with off-road conditions rather than on-road. Front rear diff lock, sway bar disconnects too. We've got our four-wheel drive select here, which is still It's four-wheel drive all the time, but still cool that you can kind of pull it down and everything, old school style. It says Final Edition on that, by the way. And then got this is cool with the kind of finish on the trim there. Normal Jeep center console. So good storage. Finish trim on the top here, and then we do have top insulation, by the way. And this leads us to the window sticker for this 2025 finished in Mojito. Pretty much everything's standard. Well, everything is standard equipment. $102,485 is the total MSRP on this. Let's see how it performs. We got the valves open now. Man, you know, sometimes I do miss my Jeep 392, but I did not like commuting in that thing. I had a 22, so mine didn't have as much insulation as the new ones, and so just on the highway, not great. And also, again, that new live axle in the back really improves the handling, and so, yeah, the older one it's definitely had a lot of character, but there's just a lot that you can see, and so, like, when it comes to daily driving, it was not the worst thing on the planet, but it became a chore at a certain point for me, personally. But man, do I like just looking at this thing. This is the kind of car that it's so cool that it exists. The color, like, this is the type of car that you have a poster of in your room. And the sound is so good. Gotta love the deep rumble, the V8. Now, the 392, just like most Wranglers, still is a solid axle vehicle, front and rear. And so, it still kind of has those handling characteristics. Actually, let's close the valves. Yeah, see, you just get more road noise in this compared to a regular car. It's not horrible. Again, compared to older Wranglers, like, this is pretty luxe. But, yeah, when you compare it to non-Wrangler, you know, off-roaders, it's definitely louder inside here. A noticeable difference. Gotta love just how much torque the V8 has. It feels like you got so much to pull from. It's really impressive, actually. And, you know, the 392 is heavy for a Wrangler. By the way, if you own a business, has a gross vehicle weight rating over 6,000 pounds. It's the only Wrangler that you can write off. Just putting that out there. And that'll tell you guys why I bought this instead of a V6 or a 2.0 turbo. But, yeah, it's heavier for a Wrangler, but it still is got that kind of like Wrangler lightweight tossable fun feel to it. Pop the off-road pages on here. I think this is cool where you can see what's locked and unlocked and everything. Pitch and roll is important. I will say these are so impressive. My wife and I, we went off-roading together once in our 22 392, and we were on like a 25-degree side slope, and it didn't feel bad. Like in a lot of cars, you're on a 25-degree side slope and you kind of feel like things are getting kind of sketchy, but in the Wrangler, the articulation is so good that and just keeping the body as level as possible, it was really impressive. That's funny. So you know how you accelerate in a car and it kind of picks up the front end? It happens in this. You could see the pitch was going up a bit because the front end was leaning up from the acceleration. That's funny. This is a cool vehicle. This is not like necessary at all. Like if you just want the Jeep capability, then yeah, you get a V6, you get a 2.0 turbo. The 392 pairs sports car performance with the Jeep capability. It's crazy. And it sounds great. It's such a special vehicle. It's also expensive. I mean, it's crazy when these first came out in 21, they're like 70 grand. Now it's 100. It's a lot of money. So let me guys think about what I will call the Encore Edition 392. I think the color is amazing. I think this is a really, really cool color, and I think that the improvements they've made have made it better. Other than, I don't like the new infotainment system. That's the only thing I don't like, but other than the infotainment system, I think the other improvements have objectively made the 392 just a better vehicle in terms of daily drivability and all that, which at $100,000, you're gonna have to daily drive this. Not gonna be your only car for most people. So let me know your thoughts.